Medium's book, Part 2. Chapter 31, the second half of it, is on spiritist societies, things said by spirits. Some of the following communications were obtained at the Paris Society for Psychological Studies. Others have been sent to this group by other mediums, and they are general advice about the formation of the societies and general difficulties in being organized in these societies. Why do you not begin your sessions with a general prayer, sort of an appeal to the higher spheres that may dispose your minds to serious thoughts? Without serious thought of purpose and action, only frivolous communications will be obtained. Good spirits only come to those who attract them by their fervor and sincerity, which is not sufficiently understood in your world. We see your labors with pleasure, and we're ready to help you, but on the condition that you second your action by the action of humans and by the action of our wills, and we show ourselves equal to the mission that we are called to fulfill. Be united. Thus you will be too strong for evil spirits to prevail against you. God approves that we are in unison and in simple thought, who devote himself without vanity to become a focus of light for all mankind. You must learn to distinguish truth from error. Be careful to only seed good seed and mix with tares. For tares stifle the good and prevent it from growing. Those who have sown them will be held responsible for the mischief done by them. In other words, you who are called to spread truth, you will have to answer for false doctrines. Let all mediums, therefore, pray to God unceasingly for assistance and guidance. St. Augustine. St. Augustine was then asked for a general formula of evocation or prayer. Again, we cannot give you any fixed and absolute formula because God is too great to attach importance to words. He only looks at the thought. You cannot suppose that just saying certain words will keep evil spirits away. There's no virtue or morality in certain words. Just basically, our energy is just being clothed in language. The heart has to be in it. Draw up a formula if you want, and then submit it to me, and I will help you work on it. So then, on this advice, they drew up a formula and asked St. Augustine and other spirits about it. It has been met with wide approval, and so therefore has been generally adopted for the beginning of the spirit meetings. And so, a lot of the prayers put in the Kardec Book of Selected Prayers that we use was actually formulated or worked with in collaboration with the spirits to use. So this is how things became codified, or spiritism became codified. We pray to Almighty God to send good spirits to assist us, to keep away those who might lead us into error, and to give us the light we need for distinguishing truth from imposture. May all malevolent spirits who create disunion among us be kept away. Should any obtain entrance here, we adjure them in the name of God to retire. Good spirits, who preside over our labors, be deigned to come to us and instruct us. Render us docile to your counsels and aid us to subordinate all personal sentiments to the general well-being. We specially request the spirit of so-and-so, our spirit protectors, to be with us and to give us help. Now, the language is slightly different in the yellow book I have and in the Gual book, which is translated a bit better because that book was translated from French to English, and it's not a really good exact translation, but it is a more complete work, in my opinion. So studying these prayers is of really much of importance as well. They're not just willy-nilly prayers, they're actually formulated with the spirits and can help us aim to what we need to be thinking and feeling and what we're aiming to do. It's not just a philosophy, it's about working on our morality. And that's how we're going to advance St. Louis. So don't just ask them about science in general. People laugh at table tipping, but they never laugh at philosophy, wisdom, and the clarity and the charity in the communications of the spirits of highest degrees. Again, be serious, have truth and duty, charity and understanding. Be serious in your studies. And the more you advance, the more you're going to attract higher spirits, because when you're just stumbling, you're not really able to communicate with spirits that have a greater intelligence or greater, like they're at like university level and you're like doing your ABCs basically in like kindergarten, you know? So you'll attract greater and greater teachers and you'll understand a greater and greater philosophy or grammar, literature. Once you understand it, then you're not gonna keep studying the same thing to gain that understanding, basically. And it'll make a foundation to greater spirit communication. So again, that's why studying Kardec and going over these books is so important. Spirits are always happy to help us. We must be humble. We must be firm in the right. Show ourselves to be patient and humility. If good ones do not come to us, then bad ones will take their place. Don't seek to grow necessarily in the favor of man, even though you may through spiritism. Seek only to grow in the favor or in the eye of God. Union is strength. Be united so you may be strong. There's a saying, even in Ocha, where there's union, there's strength, where there's force. One hand washes the other, and both wash the face. So that we may be strong. Otherwise, we are vulnerable to the poisoned errors and the attacks of ignorant, selfish, and hypocritical spirits. We must let the flame of a sincere and noble friendship unite us to keep us purified, enlightened, to warm our hearts, and then we will be able to withstand the assaults of the evil as the rock withstands the fury of the waves. St. Vincent de Paul. So you see how these spirits are metaphorical and giving us insight into our prayers as well. Understand what a reunion and a misa or a seance is for. It's not for zealousness to convince others. It's not for an exhibition. It's not for curiosity. Again, Spiritism is a mission to bring up a moral reform of the human race. Let all spiritist societies set an example of Christian virtue and like doing charity. So like having a misa and everyone brings like a canned good, for example, to donate to the food bank. Things like that. To be helpful in their community, to help a member of their community, to do healings, to do cleansings, for everyone to come together and bring something to host the event. Is charitable. You're coming together to give out messages to help each other, even if you don't personally get something out of it. You are getting something out of it, your own moral progress. Even if you don't get a message, for example. And you're developing whether or not you can see your development. If your development can be so small, but each of those little straws will break the camel's back or is a little stepping stone. Even if you can't see it, even if the measurement's too small, it all adds up. Detractors are usually under the dominion of evil spirits if you're really aligned with this. Let your only rivalry be one of the greatness of your soul, yourself, and anything that is kind and humility should be our rival. What we are aiming to be like and aiming to go towards, basically, to better ourselves, to look up to, not to look at those that want to tear us down to their level, basically. Error can be frequent, even on the part of well-intentioned spirits. Examine all communications you receive, weigh each one beforehand. The questions you propose to ask and meditate no less thoughtfully on the answers you receive, and also on a later date too, not just in the session, is you're done thinking about what was said. And analyze the conditions of the seance, um, all the factors like a scientific analysis. Um, the Spiritist Society probably has meetings to discuss like how their meetings are going and some of the results and stuff as study groups, not just as a group to get together for and to discuss ideas, and not just a group to get together to actually do the spirit work, but to analyze and work on their spirit work that they've done. Um, don't let anybody enter your groups who don't understand the law of charity, so that the enemy don't find a traitor among you. Dissensions can only be the work of evil spirits. Be an example of patience, dignity, and consistency. Good spirits may sometimes permit a contest to arise in order to allow good as well as evil sentiments an opportunity to manifest themselves, to sift out the wheat from the tares, but they will always be on the side of those who display the truest humility and the most genuine charity. St. Vincent de Paul. Repel all spirits whose advice counsel exclusivity, division, and isolation. Such spirits are always vain and shallow. They impose upon the weak. They flatter to fascinate and dominate over people. They are generally spirits who, public or private tyrants on earth, still desire victims to control after death. They're best getting rid of by being critical of the examination of communications, by the moral influence of those running the societies and the principal mediums, and from the spirits of high advancement. It's not only among incarnated humans that there's false prophets, there's self deluded and conceited spirits who, under the mask of love and charity, will sow dissension and try to slow the freedom, emancipation of the human race by absurd statements. Fascinating, misleading, who try to get you to bypass theories uh, of using your own reason and common sense. Truth is not always to be seen by some individuals, but is always recognized by common sense of the majority. If two sentiments clash, then one it must have fault or a lack of understanding. The light of truth shall reach all minds, so it is not shut up in a narrow circle, but shines forth in all directions, and that darkness may be everywhere dissipated. So they're getting into absurd communication or apocryphal, which are often signed by great name droppers. Common sense would detect falseness, but sometimes errors mixed up in truth, which cannot be detected at first sight, although it cannot fail to be perceived on further examinations. We will give a few examples of communications of this character to help others in judging communications, which may come under this category. Usually, there's inaccuracies, redundancies, eccentric terms, like being really, so you can't really verify it. It'll be like extremely exotic, um, or not really well known, so we can't verify something. Um, for example, a spirit was saying that there's pieces of land that is not found yet on Earth. and that people are hidden there to hide them from God so that we cannot corrupt them. Um, they're disagreeing with that. Because they're saying, well, we pretty much know all the land on Earth. We have satellites now. Um, Not to say that there's not remote tribes, or if you want to believe in Hollow Earth or not. Spiritism's kind of disagreeing with that in terms of like a physical place, anyways, on the surface of the Earth. um, you must always answer with calmness and impartiality. A divergence in style and thought. Um, there's a correspondence by Napoleon, which is just a bunch of gobbledygook. Um, and it's signed Napoleon, but he didn't really talk like that. Because it was not like really succinct. It was just a bunch of, "You'll be happy, very happy. You're strong, more powerful men than all the potentates of the universe united, notwithstanding their armies." Just very, very wordy. Um, People that tell you to do things that you cannot die from physical wounds. Um, that's false. Um, the spirits wouldn't of spiritism wouldn't really put you in danger like that. Um, Double negatives, like no one does not change one's religion, is like a double negative. So it's a grammatical error that they're saying there's a problem with that spirit communication. Um, some spirit saying that his name was Jesus. Um, we're just saying, like, again, a bunch of gobbledygook and never really spoke like that, at least according to the Bible, right? Eternal happiness is a star led the magi of the east by the faith of the cradle. Whatever adversaries, whatever your trials, whatever the tears you have shed in the sphere of exile, take courage. The joy will overwhelm you in the world of spirits, will be far beyond the torments of your passing existence. The valley of tears is a valley which must disappear to give the brilliant blah 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 fraternity, joy, union, blah 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 blah. That was probably not Jesus. So, at least as what's known in the Bible, how he would talk. How beautiful is nature? How blah blah blah. So just like really long, like bunch of words that don't really say anything. You ever watch anybody like that does a video about something and they just say like a bunch of words, and at the end of the day you're like, okay, you really just said like one sentence in like 30 minutes. You really just like said nothing. Like, what are you even saying? Like, waste of time.